Hello and welcome back. My name is Michelle if you're new here. Today I thought it'd be fun to go through some of the hobbies I've tried out over these past couple years. It's crazy to think that I've only gotten into having hobbies not too long ago. Before that, honestly, all that I would do in my free time was scroll through YouTube and watch videos. But I would say over these past 2 years, I've really been exploring with different hobbies and different activities, and it honestly has made it a lot easier to stay off of my phone or my laptop. So I'm going to share them with you guys today, and hopefully you get some new ideas. So I'm going to go through all of the ones I have tried first, and I'm going to rate them on a scale of 1 to 10 based on 1, how accessible or affordable it is, 2, how enjoyable it is, 3, how beginner friendly it is. And then I'll share some that I want to try that I haven't tried yet. The first one is chess / Mahjong. I know they're two totally different games, but I'm grouping them together. In terms of accessibility, I would give this one a good 9 out of 10. You can play both of these online, and there's lots of resources on how to play. Mahjong I used to play often because my cousins were really big Mahjong players, and for chess, I just use chess.com. For enjoyability, I would give this one a good 8 out of 10. I honestly think it's really fun. I think both of the games get you thinking. Obviously, I would say it's a lot more fun if you're able to play in person. In terms of how beginner friendly it is, I would give this one maybe a 6 out of 10. Mahjong was definitely harder to pick up. I've actually only played the Japanese version. My next hobby is rock climbing / bouldering. I just started doing this maybe last winter, and most times I'm going with my friends and it's just like a really good time. In terms of accessibility, I would give this one a 6 out of 10 because it's not that accessible to everybody. I think I'm lucky to have rock climbing gyms around, but I don't think it's something that's like super common. And it's also low-key and expensive hobby. I don't know if it's the place that I go that's a little bit pricey, but it definitely is a hobby that's a little bit more of an investment. For enjoyability, I would give this one a good 8 out of 10. It's a great arm workout, but it's one of those workouts where you don't feel like it's a workout because it's so fun. And for how beginner friendly it is, I would give it an 8 out of 10. At the gym where I'm at, the levels go up gradually, so you can always start where you're comfortable. My next activity is snowboarding / skiing. I actually don't ski. I've only skied once when I was really young and it terrified me. So I've only snowboarded these past couple years. However, in terms of accessibility, I would give this one a 4 out of 10. I know that not every single place in the world has snow, and not every single place has hills or mountains that you can go down. It also is not the most affordable hobby, and just for one day of being out there, buying the lift tickets and for rentals if you're renting can get pretty pricey. In terms of enjoyability though, I would give this one an 8 out of 10. It's so fun, especially in the winter when everything is cold and gloomy. At least there's something to get you excited for the season. I don't know, the whole experience, you're out on the hills, and then afterwards you come back to the nice warm lodge and you eat with your friends and you hang out, and being on the ski lifts and then being on the top of the mountain and just looking down, it's just such a good time. How beginner friendly is it? I would give it a 3 out of 10. You know what though, my friend Lena went for the first time and she picked it up instantly, but for me that was not the case. My next activity is ballet. I am not a good dancer. I just don't think it's the outlet that I gravitate towards, which is fine. I don't have anything against dancing or dancers. I'll do it. I actually did ballet when I was younger. So as an adult, me and my friend just did some drop-in classes. In terms of accessibility, I would give this one maybe a 6 or 7 out of 10. Again, it can be quite an expensive hobby, and depending on where you are, it can be hard to find dance classes. For enjoyability, I would give it a 7 out of 10. With other art forms, I think it's easier to articulate what I'm feeling through them. With dance, I find it's a little bit harder. Maybe that's why I don't really gravitate towards it, but I honestly think it's really fun. I think it's beautiful. How beginner friendly is it? 6 out of 10 maybe? I was going to drop-in classes so it wasn't too hard, but you also need a lot of leg and core strength. The 5th hobby on my list is music production. This is something that I started doing recently. How accessible is it? I would give it a 7 out of 10. If you have a laptop or computer, you can get some free audio workspaces, and if you want to get the fancier softwares, it can be a little bit pricier. For how enjoyable it is, I would give this one a 10 out of 10 personally, just because I really enjoy it. I think it's just so fun to play with, and there's so much to learn, and the things that you can create are endless. I just started getting into it recently, so I'm not the greatest, but it's just so fun. In terms of how beginner friendly it is, honestly, it was not that beginner friendly for me. I would give this one like a 6 out of 10. It was very overwhelming when I started. There are just so many options on the software that it can get very frustrating, but it also means that there are so many things that you can potentially do, which is great. My sixth hobby is video editing. I was gonna just put filmmaking, but there's 3 different components to filmmaking. There's the pre-production, the production, and the post-production. So I'm gonna separate them into 3 different hobbies. So we're gonna talk about the post-production, which is video editing. For accessibility, I would give it a 9 out of 10. You just need either a phone or a laptop. There's so many free editing softwares out there. How enjoyable is it? I would give it an 8 out of 10. I personally enjoy it. It's just nice to see everything come together and form this piece of work. But sometimes it can get really tedious. How beginner friendly is it? I would give it a 7 out of 10. Just basic editing is not too difficult. I think depending on how complex you want the edits to be, it can be a little bit frustrating at the beginning when you have something in mind and you don't really know how to achieve it through the editor yet. It honestly just takes a lot of time and patience. So my next hobby is photography / videography, which is also part of the filmmaking process. It's the production part. I don't know if I'm getting old, but like the thought of like gathering footage now, it's just so draining to me. But let's talk about photography and videography. In terms of accessibility, 10 out of 10. If you have a phone, if you have anything that can take pictures, which is like every single device nowadays. I have a ridiculous amount of cameras. When I was in high school, I was a big fan of film photography. I had an old manual film camera. Actually, let me grab it. It is just such a cool camera. Shortly after, I bought a point and shoot, so I've been using that a lot more than this. I remember I was in the hallways of my school and my business teacher, God bless his soul, he saw me taking pictures and he was like, I have a bunch of lenses that I don't use, would you like them? And I was like, oh no, like don't worry about it. But he was so insistent. And so he comes a couple days later and he brings me this mech bag that I still have in my closet full of the coolest lenses ever, which is why I really want to start using this camera again. And the lens cap for it is pretty sick. It's from the Olympics. I say that I don't really like the filming process that much anymore, but in reality, I still do it more than the average person. I guess maybe my excitement for it has kind of dwindled a bit just because I've been doing it for so long, but at the end of the day, it is such a big part of my life. Am I like tripping out? Was that guy riding a unicycle? How did I not notice that when I was taking the video in person? That's a cool hobby. So for enjoyability, I would still give it a 9 out of 10. There's so much that you can do with a camera, and I think that's amazing. Beginner friendliness, also 10 out of 10. You could build your skills with it, you could not build your skills with it. Either way, it's just such a great thing to do. Alright, my next hobby is writing, which would be the pre-production. I think my love for writing is such a big part of what makes me who I am. Anything that I'm going through, anything that I'm feeling, I just like to write. I think that's like my favorite form of therapy. Besides seeing my therapist. For writing, accessibility, 10 out of 10. All you need is a piece of paper and a pen, or you can just write on your phone or your laptop. Obviously, I'm aware that being able to read and write is such a big privilege, but I'm very happy that's becoming a lot more accessible now, because I think being able to write down your thoughts and your feelings is so powerful and healing. In terms of enjoyability, okay, I would still give this a 9 out of 10. I think the reason I give it a 9 out of 10 is because as much as I love it, there are moments where I do dread it, especially if I'm writing to create a piece of work. Sometimes it can get frustrating because it's really hard to get my thoughts in order. How beginner friendly is it? 10 out of 10. You can literally write about anything. Write about your dog, write about your carpet. It seems like the simplest outlet, but sometimes that's what we need. I'm gonna breeze through some of these because I don't think they really need that much explanation. Painting and drawing, I give this one a 9 out of 10 on accessibility because I feel like depending on where you are, it can be hard to get painting supplies. Drawing though, for the most part, is pretty accessible. On how enjoyable it is, I would say 9 out of 10. I like painting. I'm not the best at drawing. It's not really my main art form. I do really enjoy it, but I don't think I gravitate towards it as much as other forms of art. How beginner friendly? 10 out of 10. You don't have to be good at drawing to draw. You don't have to be good at painting to paint. Just do it and have fun. Alright, my next activity is scrapbooking / journaling. For accessibility, I would give this a 9 out of 10. All you really need is a notebook. I've seen a lot of cool scrapbooks of people keeping like old tickets from events that they've gone to. I don't recommend keeping receipts because they can be toxic. But like if you're going somewhere and maybe you find a cool leaf, you don't have to buy all these fancy stickers and beads. For me personally, for enjoyability, I would give this one maybe a 7.5 out of 10. I don't know if it's really my thing. Maybe it will be one day, but as of right now, I just don't really make time for it. Beginner friendliness, 10 out of 10. I mean, if you're journaling, you're just writing about your day. If you're scrapbooking, you're just also reflecting on your day using items that hold some significance to you. I feel like I actually would be really good at scrapbooking because everything is sentimental to me. I just never really think about it. Like I'll go to like a show and I'll have like a program and I'll just toss it out. Like my friend Lena, she always keeps her programs and I think that's such a cute thing to do and I just don't even think about it. I'm just like, okay, well. Next, knitting and crocheting. Accessibility, 8.5 out of 10. I think you can find most crocheting and knitting supplies in craft stores. In terms of enjoyability, I would give this one a 7 out of 10. I'm not gonna lie, I am not the most patient person, and crocheting and knitting takes a lot of patience. A lot of love and a lot of work goes into it. My attention span is also like not that great. It's fun, but it just takes so long. How beginner friendly is it? I would say 8 out of 10. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. There's lots of resources that you can find on the internet to help you, but it can be a little bit complicated. Okay, low-key it's my bedtime, so I'm gonna continue this tomorrow. All right, welcome back. My 12th hobby, bear with me, running. It still is not really a hobby for me. For accessibility, I give this one a 9 out of 10. I also realized that I'm rating all of these with the privilege of being able-bodied, so please keep that in mind. But I say 9 out of 10 for running because you can do it anywhere you want. You can run around your house, you can run around your block. Enjoyability, I would give this one a 6 out of 10. There are days where I enjoy running and days where I don't. It really depends on my mood. In terms of beginner friendliness, I would give it a 6 out of 10 as well. Running is not for everyone and it takes a while to get used to it. Even now, I'm not like the best runner ever, but I'm enjoying it more than I used to. Number 13 is biking. I really love biking. Accessibility, I would give this one a 6 or 7 out of 10. Not everybody has a bike or has space for a bike. Bikes can be expensive. I was lucky enough to just have bikes laying around the house when I was growing up. My grandpa was a big biker. In terms of how enjoyable I think it is, I give this one a 9 out of 10. It's such a chill activity, but it also can be a very intense activity if you want to make it intense. I'm definitely more of a chill biker. I used to bike with a friend who was just way too intense with it. If I'm biking, I like to bike and also enjoy the scenery. I think it's great for your legs and it's also a great workout. And when you're tired, you can just like chill on the bike and most times it just like moves on its own. In terms of how beginner friendly it is, I would say a 7 out of 10. But I'm also saying that because I grew up riding a bike. If you're learning how to ride a bike for the first time, which is totally fine, I could definitely see it being very hard. I'd probably give it like a 4 out of 10. My next activity is reading. For accessibility, I would say this is a good 9 out of 10, depending on where you are. In most places, you're able to get a library card for free. As many of you may know, I just got back into reading recently, so for enjoyability, I would give this a good 8 out of 10. There are some days where I'm just not in the mood to read, but when I'm reading, I really enjoy it. How beginner friendly is it? 9 out of 10. If you can read, then I would suggest picking up a nice book, or even if you don't want to read a book, you can literally just read an article or anything. Honestly, just read whatever you can. My next hobby is sewing. To be honest, I don't sew as much as I would like to. I learned how to sew when I was in 12th grade because I wanted to make my prom dress. It turned out like okay. For accessibility, I would give this one a 5 out of 10 to be honest. Sewing machines can be a little pricey. I think you can get some at the thrift store, but if you already have a sewing machine, there's lots of resources out there for you to learn how to sew. In terms of how enjoyable it is, because I never got really good at it, I would say it's a 7 out of 10. It definitely is a lot of effort and you really have to pay attention to the details or else it turns out looking kind of crazy. But overall, I still think it's very fun to get into. It's very rewarding when you finish a project and you get to wear it. How beginner friendly is it? I would say 6 out of 10. Even now, I know how to use my machine and I know how to sew, but to get it looking how I want and to get it looking somewhat professional and wearable, it takes a lot of practice. My next hobby is playing an instrument. I've played a couple instruments growing up. When I was younger, I was in piano lessons for like literally a couple months. I was in my elementary band and I played the flute and the saxophone. And lately I've been trying to teach myself guitar. In terms of accessibility, I would give this one a 6 out of 10. Just because if you didn't grow up having instruments in your house, getting one is quite expensive to be honest. Nowadays, Nowadays, I think you can get a lot of used pianos for free on Marketplace and decently priced guitars or just any other instrument, but in general, playing an instrument is kind of an investment and it definitely is a privilege. In terms of how enjoyable it is, I would give it a 7 out of 10 just because the whole learning process takes a lot of discipline, and I feel like you could say that about a lot of other hobbies that I mentioned, but I feel like with instruments in particular, you have to have consistent practice with it, and if you don't, you kind of forget. How beginner friendly is it? I give this one a 6.5 out of 10, especially if you're learning on your own. You really have to hold yourself accountable and practice, and if you don't have the discipline or you don't have enough love for the instrument to play it consistently, it can be really hard to learn. With lessons, I would say it'd be a little bit easier, but even if you're taking lessons, you still have to practice. My next hobby is acting. This is something that I never thought I would ever try in my life. I actually was in a student short not too long ago. I've taken classes for it and it's very fun. For accessibility, I would give this one a 6 out of 10 just because classes are quite expensive, and I know in certain cities it's not that easy to find classes. You could take classes online, but if you can take classes in person, that's definitely ideal. In terms of enjoyability, I would give it a 7 out of 10. I like it, but it's definitely a huge vulnerability thing. It's one of those things where you really have to just forget about your ego. How beginner friendly is it? I would say it's a 9 out of 10. Obviously, if you want to make a career out of it, then it's going to take a lot more training. If you're doing it just to have fun and meet people, it's pretty great, and most times the environment is super chill and everyone's very supportive. It's definitely one of those things where if you really want to put yourself out there, definitely give it a try. My next hobby is drying / pressing flowers. I've only started doing this recently. It makes me feel very whimsical. In terms of accessibility, I would give it an 8 out of 10. You don't have to go to a fancy flower shop and get expensive flowers to dry. You can get flowers from the supermarket, or you can get flowers from outside. How enjoyable is it? I would give it a 7 out of 10. It takes patience and you're not really doing much. You either just hang the flowers or you'll press them between parchment paper. It's fun, but there's not much to it. How beginner friendly is it? I would say it's a 8.5 or 9 out of 10. It's not too hard to dry your flowers, but you have to be careful of mold. If it starts growing on there, just toss them out right away. Alright, my next hobby that I love, and I say that about every single hobby, but I love this one, is hiking. I honestly just love being outside. I love being in nature. I love just making a trip out of it. Going hiking with family, going hiking with friends. I feel like it's just such a good activity to do. I think hiking was what made me appreciate spring so much. I used to hate it because of the rain, but now it's my favorite season. Accessibility, I would say 10 out of 10 or maybe 9 out of 10 depending on where you live. In terms of how enjoyable it is, 10 out of 10. I will never say no to hiking unless I'm busy with something else. How beginner friendly is it? I would say 10 out of 10 because you really don't have to make it intense. It can be as simple as taking a walk in the forest. Hobbies are supposed to be fun, so don't push yourself to do something that you're uncomfortable with, and don't push yourself to the point where you don't enjoy it anymore. My next hobby is starting a collection. I used to do this a lot. I used to collect everything when I was younger. I used to collect business cards, rocks. I'm trying to be more intentional with what I'm collecting now. How accessible is this? I would say pretty accessible, 9 out of 10. You literally can collect anything you want. You can collect plants, you can collect shoes, whatever makes you happy. How enjoyable is this? I would give it a 7 out of 10 because it's fun, but it's something that you do over a long period of time. How beginner friendly is it? 10 out of 10, I'd say. Pretty easy to collect stuff depending on what it is. Next hobby is cooking / baking. Prior to 2024, I never actually cooked that often, which is not something I'm proud to admit, but for some reason in 2024 I just really got into it. The thing is, I have hyperfixation meals. The meals that I make for myself are very simple and are the same throughout the whole week. So cooking was never really a huge part of my life until recently. How enjoyable is it? I would say a 7 out of 10. I like it and I enjoy it, but I also have to be in the right mood. Okay, so my battery died, so I didn't get to finish talking about cooking and baking. The background looks a little bit different. I changed my sheets and my parents got me flowers for my birthday. How cute. For how beginner friendly it is, I would give it a 7 out of 10. The skill levels for cooking or baking range so much. It can be very, very simple or very, very complicated. Just depends on what you make or how complex you want to make the dish. But when I was first learning, I had a lot of trouble with seasoning and I had a lot of trouble with temperature control. So if you're starting out, it can get a little bit frustrating, but just start where you're most comfortable. My next hobby is gardening / keeping plants. I wish I could show you the plants in well, you can see actually most of the plants in my room. There's a couple hanging plants over there. I just bought a mini bird of paradise plant and I'm super excited to pot that. This is the first year that I am planting something in our garden, and I'm planting 2 cherry cherry tomato plants. It's been a very cold spring. Some of the plants that we brought outside are kind of withering because it's gotten hot and then cold. But anyways, back to the ratings. For accessibility and affordability, I give it a 7 out of 10. I know not everybody has the money and the space to garden, but if you are looking to start, there's lots of places that have plants and lots of supplies to start gardening. How enjoyable is it? I would give it either 6.5 out of 10 or 7. The physical acts of gardening, I guess, are kind of fun, like you're planting it and then you're watering it, but most times it's just a lot of waiting. I know that that's not the point of it. The point is to create this lovely garden and environment. How beginner friendly is it? I would give it a 7 out of 10. This is partially maybe because I'm just irresponsible. When I first started buying plants for my room, I would kill them, but sometimes depending on the plant, it needs a lot more care. Plants I have right now are pretty low maintenance. I usually just feel to see if the soil is dry. And for gardening, it's the same thing. Depending on the plant, it needs more or less maintenance. But other than that, it's just, you just dig a hole and stick the plant in. Alright, next hobby. I've been learning to cut my own hair. I know that it's not much of a hobby because you can't just do it whenever. I've been trying to learn how to cut my hair since COVID probably, and only now am I starting to get the hang of it. But honestly, I've been really enjoying cutting my own hair, and I feel like you're more likely to get a result that is exactly what you're looking for. Not at the beginning, maybe like after a couple tries. In terms of accessibility / affordability, I would say it's a good 8 out of 10. All you really need is a good pair of hair cutting scissors, which can get also a little bit pricey, but you don't need like top of the line scissors to cut your hair. How enjoyable is this? I would give it a 6 out of 10. The most enjoyable part of this is the result. Actually learning to cut your hair and doing it on yourself can be a little bit nerve-wracking because if you mess up, then your hair is gonna look messed up for a good 2 months. How beginner friendly is it? I would give it a good maybe 5 out of 10. When you cut your hair, you can't really just do it again. You have to wait until it grows back, and because of that process, it's kind of hard to get better at it. My first few rounds were pretty rough. To be honest, I've kind of only gotten good at doing like the front parts. The bottom, I kind of just freestyle it. It's honestly not the easiest to do, especially doing it yourself. It's beginner friendly if you don't care about what the result looks like, but if you care, then it's not. Alright, so my next hobby is bracelet / jewelry making. When I was younger, I used to love making those little embroidery thread bracelets, but lately I've been into making like little charm bracelets. This is actually a charm bracelet that my mom gave me, but I have some of the beads from the store. In terms of accessibility, I give it a 7 out of 10. Most times you can find the supplies at craft stores, or if not, you can find them on Amazon as well, but then again, I understand that's not accessible to every single person. In terms of enjoyability, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. It takes a lot of patience. I realize that a lot of these I'm rating a little bit lower because it takes patience. If you are a patient person, maybe you'll enjoy a lot of these more than I have. But then again, this whole list is very subjective. How beginner friendly is it? I would give it a 6 out of 10. Depending on what kind of bracelet you're making, it requires a lot of attention to detail. You really need to have like steady hands with the pliers because these things are like tiny, and the knots that you make take forever if you're making like a string bracelet. It definitely is not my favorite hobby, but it's fun if I'm in the mood for it. Alright, so that wraps up the hobbies that I have tried. I'm gonna start talking about hobbies that I've maybe dabbled a little bit in, but not enough. My first one is juggling. I don't know why I want to do this so badly, but I've been trying to teach myself how to juggle for maybe like 3 years now, and it has never gone well. Is it a hobby? I don't know, but I'm gonna keep it on there. The next one that I would like to try is bird watching / botany. Two totally different things, but I'm putting them together. I think people who are able to go out in nature and identify plants and animals and birds are just like the coolest people ever. I really do love nature, and I feel like this is a way to get even deeper into my love for nature. My next one is embroidery. In my head, I grouped that in like grandma activities that I would like to start. My next one is tying knots. I actually have some rope. I got this from my dad because dads just have ropes sometimes. So I've been learning how to tie this knot so that I can get my top rope certification, but I am a little bit nervous to do the test because I don't test well. My friend used to be in cadets, and she learned how to tie a bunch of knots, and I just thought that was so cool. That's why I have this rope in my room. My next one is lock picking. Why do I want to learn this? I have no idea, but I used to watch this channel called McNally Official, and he was like the greatest lockpicker ever. I would like to learn like lockpicking basics. My next one is astronomy slash stargazing. I love space and I love looking at constellations. It's just something that I haven't really thought about for a really long time. My next one is woodworking slash furniture building. These two nightside tables beside me, I got them from IKEA when I was in my very natural wood era. But as I'm getting older, I've been really into more traditional looking pieces of furniture. I would love to stain this and maybe add some different hardware onto it. I know that's never gonna look super traditional just because of how simple it is, but I feel like a stain would do this guy some justice. Next one is horseback riding. I never grew up in the country, nor do I really want to live in the countryside, but I really love horses and I think they're so smart and so beautiful. I feel like riding a horse is such a freeing experience. Another one that I would like to try is pottery. I think there are actually a lot of pottery places near where I live, but I have never been to one and I don't know why. Another hobby I would like to try is aerial silks. My friend's sister actually went to a class and that's why I put this on my list, because it's something that I would love to try. It kind of scares me a bit because I don't know if I have the upper body strength. I'm not the most graceful person either, so I can imagine myself just onto the ground. My last one on here is making a website. When I was in university, I took the regular computer science and then I took a fun computer science. Computer science gave me nightmares. I would have dreams of not completing my assignments, or I'd have dreams that I would figure out the solution to my code and I would like get up in the middle of the night. I'm like, oh my god, I figured it out. I go to my computer to try the solution and it would not work. Anyways, that's not what I'm here to talk about. In my fun computer science class, we learned how to code with HTML. I think. We just made like these random websites and it was actually kind of fun. I saw this YouTube video recently of this girl making a website about whatever she wanted. There was some coding involved, but it's not the type of coding that makes you want to blow your brains out. What was I thinking taking computer science? Me, out of all people, why was I in computer science? Alright, so those are all the hobbies I have for today. Hopefully this has given you some ideas. If there are hobbies that you enjoy that I have not mentioned today, please let me know what they are down below and let me know how you got into them. And also down below, I'm gonna link a Reddit post made by this amazing person. This person named St. Louis Charles. Sorry. S. Lewis Charles. Please forgive me. And they basically made a list of every single hobby that you could possibly think of, along with their subreddits. I'm gonna put that in the description down below. But thank you so much for watching if you got this far. I hope you have a great day and I will see you next time.